So I saw them here in Pembroke. I went to Cobb in, what was it, this spring or earlier this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, just
I love horses.
it almost doesn't even look like they're doing anything. It's almost like the horse knows the routine.
Welcome to our Planning Advisory and Adjustment Committee meeting of September the 23rd, 2024. Prior to our meeting, I'd like to give you our Pembroke Land Acknowledgement Statement. As we gather today, I would respectfully acknowledge on behalf of the Council and the community that the City of Pembroke resides on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. It is with this statement that we honor and respect the Algonquins on whose land we reside. Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. And the first thing I'd like is approval of our agenda. Moved by Ian, seconded by Marcella. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Minutes of August the 26th having been circulated, I wonder if I might have a motion to adopt the minutes. Moved by Marie-José, seconded by Ian. Are there any errors or omissions to the minutes? All in favor of the minutes? Oh, yes, one moment. Thank you.
Just a comment and actually a question to the planning department.
Yes.
I was absent, that is not properly noted. I noted in the minutes that the application that had come in for 960 McKay Street, and that that's the one, was not present for the application. Is that the one I'm thinking of? I'm thinking the one where there was going to be another hall.
That's the one. Also, your mic.
That's the one, eh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize for that. Technology. I was absent for the meeting, as the minutes noted properly. And I noted in reading the minutes about the applicant was not present to deal with the application that had come before us, which was held off because it was a question of paving the parking lot. Has there been any follow-up on that from the applicant?
Through you, Mr. Chair. No, I have not. Ever since I notified the applicant of the last meeting and the applicant did not attend, we haven't had any communication from the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now all in favor of adopting the minutes? Thank you, carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. And first one is A1324 and A1424, 931 McKay Street and 933 McKay Street by Brittany McLennan. Discussion on this, please. Or yes, I'm sorry. Owen, can you fill us in? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So 2 building permits have been issued for 931 McKay Street and 933 McKay Street, respectively, to Tony Romanelli, who owns both properties. Each of these building permits is to construct a unit or a side of a semi-detached dwelling building that will straddle the lot line of the 2 properties. So what we're looking at is originally we're looking at 2 dwelling units in the single building with 1 dwelling unit per lot. So that's what the building permits have been issued for at this point. Mr. Romanelli now wishes to revise the building plans for the issued permits to include an accessory dwelling unit for each primary dwelling unit. This would bring the total number of dwelling units in the building up to 4, with 2 dwelling units per lot. The properties are zoned, both zoned residential type 2, special exception 27. The R227 zoning permits semi-detached dwellings, and up to 2 accessory dwelling units are now permitted for each primary dwelling unit in a semi-detached dwelling by a recent bylaw that updated our zoning bylaw to changes under the Planning Act. So as such, the proposed use of the property is compliant with the zoning bylaw. However, Regarding parking provisions, the zoning bylaw requires 2 standard parking spaces per primary dwelling unit for a semi-detached and a single standard parking space for each accessory dwelling unit. This brings the total required parking to 3 spaces each for 931 McKay Street and 933 McKay Street. The submitted site plan shows these required parking spaces. However, they're configured in 18-foot driveways. The zoning bylaw further states that the width of a driveway shall not exceed 30% of the width of the front lot line or 6.1 meters, whichever is lesser, except that the width of a driveway shall not be reduced to less than 10 feet. So in this case, 30% of the 25-foot frontages is 7.5 feet. So that means we're automatically bumping up to the total allowable width to the minimum of 10 feet. That said, relief of 8 feet is still required to allow for the proposed 18 feet wide driveways to accommodate the required 3 standard parking spaces per property. The requested relief can be viewed as minor in nature at a single item of relief requested for less than double the standard allowance of 10 feet. It can be viewed as desirable within the neighborhood as it allows for all required parking to be accommodated on lot as opposed to on street. It can also be viewed as compatible within the neighborhood as driveways of over 30-foot widths can be found on the opposite side of McKay Street at both 930 and 932 McKay Street. And additionally, relief has recently been granted for abutting 929 McKay Street to have a total driveway width of 34 feet. And that was done by minor variance in 2023. Regarding the official plan, both properties are designated residential. Regarding this designation, the official plan states that the city will encourage all forms of residential intensification that creates a potential supply of new housing units. This shall be encouraged in built-up areas of the city where there is sufficient or planned infrastructure to accommodate. And these minor variances for 931 and 933 McKay Street will support this aim of the official plan, allowing for residential infill and intensification in a built-up area of the city. Regarding parking specifically, the official plan states that it is intended that the parking capacity in the city shall be increased to satisfy anticipated increasing traffic volumes and the parking needs arising from new development and redevelopment. So the proposed widened driveways at the properties will directly meet this aim of the official plan, providing increased off-street parking in a residential neighborhood. Regarding the provincial policy statement, the provincial policy statement is also focused on intensification and redevelopment where this can be accommodated. And again, the proposed widened driveways will support the intensification and redevelopment of both properties, supporting its intended residential use. So therefore, the planning department is recommending the approval of the minor variance applications for 931 McKay Street and 933 McKay Street to grant relief from the parking area location on lot requirement in an R227 zone to allow for the proposed driveways as per conditions that will be itemized momentarily.
Thank you, Owen. Were there any submissions received regarding this application, Owen?
We did receive comments from our operations department that it should be a requirement, a condition of the application that the property owner install at their own expense an asphalt gutter draining the subject driveways and continuing to the north to connect to the existing asphalt gutter at 929 McKay Street.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the application, sir?
Was that sorry? My hearing.
Oh, okay. Would you like to speak to the application? Yeah.
No, the only thing that was my concern was the gutters. I have no problem doing gutters across the front of my property. I looked at it today on 929. There's no gutters there. So what do you connect them to? Now, I mean, I'm willing to meet with the road Public Works Department and go over it. I mean, I got no concern. The only concern, like I said, when I went and looked, and I said, well, there's nothing there. So what do I connect to? Because they just did they went for an application to put a driveway in front of 929 as well. So there's nothing there.
Owen?
So through you, Mr. Chair, I have spoken with Mr. Romanelli on the phone this afternoon regarding this issue, and he has indicated that he would cooperate with a meeting with the operations department. It would still be, I did inform him that it would still be a condition of the variances that basically to the satisfaction of the operations department, this must be installed. But in terms of any confusion about what is actually on site, that would have to be ironed out at a meeting with the operations department and the developer.
It's fine.
Comments from, yes.
I'm looking at the bird's eye view drawing that's part of our package. And just so that it's clear in my mind, we're talking about a 2-foot strip of grass on each side of this, the front of this property, and the rest of it being all pavement to accommodate the parking?
So it would be, I'm sorry, I don't actually have, I'm going from metric to imperial here. So it would be approximately, it would be just over a meter of grassed area on either side on the side of 931 and 933. It would be just, I think, about 1.5 meters. So that would be,
Should be around 7 feet.
4.5 feet.
yeah, in imperial.
It's, I'm thinking about how you're going to get to the back of that place if you have any major construction back. There's not much room in each side to get there.
There's 4 foot, there are 4 foot side yards on the sides of the house. So we're at our required side yard setbacks. Plus, so you've got that 4 feet, plus you've got approximately at 18 feet, you'd have about another 2.5 feet of grass. So you'd have a 6 foot area, roughly 6 to 7 feet on each side of the driveway of a grass area.
Okay, see, I guess what threw me off is in the diagram, it just says 1.25 meters. It's about 4 feet.
Yeah, then your driveway's not
each
going
side.
right to the edge of the,
Okay, and just so that I'm clear on the parking requirement here, we're talking about the possibility of 4 homes here. I mean, each unit can have 2 each, so that's 4 homes. So we're looking at parking for 4. So when you say 3 standard spaces per property, does that mean for the 2 properties or the 4? Because it makes a big difference, 6 to 12.
So through you, Mr. Chair, like in terms of the report, we're looking at, like, there are individual applications for each for 931 and 933. There are per property, there are 3 standard parking spaces required.
So we're talking a total of 6.
That's correct.
Okay, not 12.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, Ian. Oh, are you finished?
Yeah, finish.
Can you go back and mention what the operations department was looking for? Now that I have a map in front of me, or a Google Map street view?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. So they are looking for, they're looking for an asphalt gutter that will drain the drainage from these driveways, but it needs to continue because there is no existing, like the asphalt gutter stops at 929 McKay Street currently. So it would need to connect to that existing asphalt gutter at 929.
Is 929 the red brick on the left?
I believe so.
And that request wasn't part of the one last year, correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, Councillor, I don't the minor variance last year?
Yeah, the one that was,
For 929?
yeah.
So that was specifically, off the top of my head, it was for, there were two driveways. There was an additional driveway to be put in. I can't remember the exact width. And there was a separation distance that was granted relief for, but.
Because they had people parking on the empty lot and we no longer, or the owner of that lot no longer wanted, if I'm remembering. Okay. Okay. I mean, I have no idea what operations is talking about, but this isn't the first time. Okay, I'll move that we approve it with the condition, the gentleman saying he's not opposed to it. He doesn't seem to know what operations is talking about. I don't seem to know what operations is talking about, but I will put my hands in their hands that they do know what they're talking about. And perhaps in the future, they could communicate to our committee a little better.
Moving the motion. Seconder? Okay. Any more discussion? Yes.
This is not with regards to the application per se, but these issues seem to be coming more regularly, more frequently. I was wondering if there was something that could be done about by law to deal with them as a matter of like regular business, as opposed to having the issues coming to the committee for application.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I hope our counselor will not mind me saying this.
Yes.
But he's actually already contacted me over that exact question. And my response to him was that Colleen and I can certainly take a look at the driveway width provision so that we can reduce, especially cases where you have, like last month with 612 Elizabeth Street, you have a very, very large frontage. So we could look at increasing so that we can avoid ones like that, or the month before there was one on Cecil Street, so that those could be, allowed by default. However, what I did also say to the counselor, Councillor Keel, was that several of them that have sprung up recently, 769 Mary Street, 2 on Weston Street, this one in particular, they are a direct result of developers looking to do secondary dwelling units. And it is one of the very last tools left to a committee of adjustment, because a developer has to abide by, we cannot prohibit secondary dwelling units explicitly in the bylaw, but the secondary dwelling units do have to meet all applicable provisions. Parking is an applicable provision. So it is one of the very, very few tools left that a committee has to potentially control secondary dwelling units. So it would not be mine, nor I believe Colleen's recommendation, that in cases like this, like we do believe this should be before a committee. There are other cases, again, Elizabeth Street, Cecil Street, where you have a very, very large frontage, and that should likely by default be permitted. So we could certainly look at those and recommend that be changed, but we would not be recommending, like in a case like this, where it's specifically a result of intensification, that the committee really should look at it for a final say. But that's my response.
Okay, thank you. It brings up the whole discussion around that secondary unit, like the accessory unit, which is not something that's in our power to decide, really. We're just trying to control it through roundabout measures. I'll just leave it to that. I don't know what to think about it. I don't know, but it seems to me that maybe we could reflect on it a little bit more to see, what's acceptable. How do we control it? Do we want to control it? Can we control it? These are questions I have no answer to, but maybe they merit some reflection.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Levesque. I can certainly take those back and discuss those points with the Director of Planning, Building and Bylaw.
Any further discussion? We have a motion on the floor. All in favor of the motion?
Carried.
Opposed? Carried.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, we'll have it die hard. Before we go on to the next item, Mr. Chairman, if I might, and just to kind of follow up a bit on the comment our colleague has brought up about controlling. When the Ontario Municipal Association held its annual meeting about 6 weeks ago in Ottawa, the Minister of Housing came forward, and I watched him, and when he said that the province is coming with new policies and to streamline the applications in order to increase affordable housing and so on. And I got the impression from him that we're getting some things coming down the pipe here that might be reflecting the easing of some of these problems that we've been facing in the last little whiles with some of the applications. Have you received anything from Queen's Park on that?
So through you, Mr. Chair, we do have a new, the province has changed the name of it. So you'll no longer hear me referring to the provincial policy statement. It will now be called the provincial planning statement. We do have one that is coming into effect at the end of October. To my knowledge, I do not believe anything would change in terms of what we're dealing with tonight in terms of parking regulations. Like, to my knowledge, that is not changing. There are certainly substantial changes that are coming down the pipe. We will be bringing a report to this committee as an education item once, just ahead of, actually that may likely be at the next meeting. So yes, substantial changes are coming down, but in terms of anything we've dealt with, to my knowledge, it would not change, nor do I believe the province is intending on increasing the number of accessory dwelling units that we are we have to allow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Okay. Owen, can we move on then to past decision update, please? The motion's been passed, hasn't it? Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank
you. Thank you very much.
I was just
you.
wondering,
Thank you.
gentlemen can
Yeah.
leave now. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So at our last committee meeting, we heard four sets of minor variances, as has been noted, largely relating to driveway widths. All of these minor variances have successfully passed their applicable 20-day appeal periods and are now considered final. We also heard two items that are part of a single housekeeping zoning bylaw amendment, one on cannabis production facilities and one on properties on Cedar Lane. So these are moving to a public meeting of council on October the 1st, and bylaws will follow at the next council meeting.
Thank you, Owen.
So the 612 Elizabeth Street, I recall a neighbor had a concern about that. Has that been addressed?
That's correct. The operations department did contact
They did.
and was in touch with that neighbor.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anything further to these past decisions? Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, October the 28th, 24. Can we have a motion to adjourn this meeting? Moved by Ian, seconded by Marcel. All in favor?
Aye.
We're away to the races. Okay, thank you.